Ricmotech GT Challenge, broadcasted Mondays live on Apex Racing TV. Visit ExtremeMotorsports99.com for series and schedule details. Broadcast coverage next.
Hello race fans, Peter Mackay here, welcoming you to the Ricmotech GT Challenge here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Joining me today in the commentary box is my esteemed colleague Austin Knight, and bringing you these wonderful images and graphics from an overcast Mid-Ohio today is Dennis Branch. Now, we've had a busy season here in the Ricmotech GT Challenge, but we've had about a month off, so here's a short video just to rejig your memory of what happened last time out at Laguna Seca.
It was WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca that would host round 4 of the Ricmotech GT Challenge, and that number 93 of Mike Dam would lead from the pole. However, issues ensued immediately as Rafael Sosa in the number 50 jumped the start, making rear contact with the 87 of Arthur Chan as well as Justin Corral, unfortunately ending his day for that Aquila Racing Porsche. Mike Dam would continue leading lap 1 though, and stretched a 10-car length lead over championship leader Denis Sevredek. The GT3 field roared under the starting bridge with the young Elvis Rankin taking the lead into turn 1. The field would single file quickly out of 2 to not lose pace to the leader. On the opening lap, the 97 of Steve Daniel would find trouble in the corkscrew, sending him to the rear of the field. Lap 4 would bring a battle to the corkscrew as Ford and Guillemette would chase after Jacobs down through Rainy Curve to get the overtake completed. And then just a couple laps later, the corkscrew would bring a splendid move out of the number 111 of Daniel Munoz as he overtakes Kevin Hawkinson on entry. Great racecraft out of both of those drivers. The GTE class would find trouble on lap 6 when Orion Collins makes a move to the inside at turn 11, collecting Arthur Chan as well as Aquila Racing teammate Wakid Janjua. The 87 of Chan would spend the next 14 minutes in the pits getting repairs done, but he would return to the race though. Jennifer McDonald was having her best race of the season as she was chasing Denis Sevredek in hopes of taking over second about midway through the race. After a good start for the number 95 in GT3, Russ Ruddock found a little extra help in the corkscrew as the number 129 of Raymond Rodriguez would get into the back of him under braking, sending that flying tortoise machine through the sandpit. Jordy Fike in that beautiful Ford GT was giving it all he had through GT3 traffic as he was closing the gap on Jennifer for third place. As the track became hotter though and covered in glowing sand, Mike Dam just continued to stretch that lead to over 9 seconds midway through the race. Denis Sevredek was keeping that pressure on though and was not about to back down. Elvis Rankin would continue to stretch his lead in GT3 and would find himself getting the victory alongside his teammate in GTE, Mike Dam, as both drivers and class winners crossed the line together to get that checker flag. Cameron Martineau would finish with a very strong second, and Chris Thorman bringing home third place, getting his first podium of the series. Denis Sevredek would finish second, with Jennifer McDonald taking third and landing her first podium as well.
So there you are, that was all the goings on last time out here in the Ricmotech GT Challenge at Laguna Seca in California. But today, we're at the, equally technical Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. So thanks to our sponsors, Ricmotech High Performance Sim Racing Equipment, here is a track guide to learn a little bit about the track and what the line and the right way around is. Check it out.
Welcome everyone to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, located here in Lexington, Ohio. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this beautiful 2.5-mile road course. This track was originally constructed all the way back in 1962 by a gentleman named Les Griebling, and the course was inaugurated that following year with its first races held in August of 1963. Well, let's begin our track guide around this beautiful, undulating, and very technical course as we head up the front straightaway here across the starting line. as we gear up into turn one. A very fast sweeping left-hander, just a brush of the brakes, come right back to throttle. Want to get a good launch here as this takes you up to the beautiful keyhole, as it's known. Turn two. Back down through the gears. This is a late apexing corner here. You want to come in and get a good launch to the bottom. Let that car track out to the outside of the course. Again, looking for some good speed off that exit, because this brings you down onto the longest straightaway here at Mid-Ohio, and one of the most popular overtaking opportunities is coming down into what's known as China Beach. That's right, there's a sand trap off to the left here. And then up into the famous section called Madness. Up over this blind entry, down the hill, back to the right, into turn 6, up into turn 7 under the Honda Bridge, over the crest, back to the right once again, keeping it in third gear, back over the crest here, and into what's known as Thunder Valley. That's right, cars come roaring up over that hill, up through the gears, and up here into turn 10. Hugging the bottom once again. Get a good launch up here into this final carousel. We're going to be real easy here with the throttle. Let the car just roll through center, right back to throttle, and then up into turn 13, the final exit, back to the front straightaway and across the line. There's your track guide around this just unbelievably beautiful course and very technical Mid-Ohio.
So there you are then. That is the way around this wonderful course here at Mid-Ohio, which was the brainchild of Les Griebling, who designed the track in the early 1960s, and it has hosted all of the top level of North American sports car racing since then, and of course the IndyCar Championship as well. Our drivers are out on track right now for 15 minutes of solo qualifying, and we have Jen McDonald, the early pace setter in her BMW M8. But Austin, you've got a wee bit of experience around here. What's the secret to laying down that fast lap time here in qualifying?
Confidence, probably. It's all about confidence, how confident you trust the car, how confident you trust your setup, because there's a lot of stuff here that it takes a lot of guts to just really send in here. You got some blind corners that if you don't fully commit to, your car's going to be slow. If you fully commit to it, your car's going to feel like a rocket ship and probably take off like a rocket ship. But if you just get it right, oh my goodness, you're zooming through that twisty section, especially going up and down these hills. As we were looking at Bobby Childs right now, he's coming through the carousel and down the front short straight. It's not what we use in real life as a starting line, but that's what they use here in iRacing. This turn 1. You don't even have to brake for it. It's just a lift turn in if you have your setup absolutely perfect. And that's one of those key confidence points.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's one where you can really get that, gain a little bit of lap time. Of course, for those who are fans of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, they had their visit just yesterday to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And Austin, you and I were both very happy indeed, because it was a Corvette 1-2, which is always very nice. But even some of the most high-profile drivers, like Ollie Jarvis in the Mazda, and also particularly Juan Pablo Montoya, actually making quite big errors through that turn 1 in the high downforce prototype. So the mistakes can be made through there, particularly for the inside curb, which is always a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, that inside curb sticks up just a little bit, and that will upset your car, especially if you just give that thing a good old whack and guts. If you set your car up for a curb here at Mid-Ohio, it is not going to help you at all. This track is crazy smooth. Few bumps here and there, but the track just flows with the terrain so well. You don't really notice all the bumps it really has in the surface, because the track crew here at Mid-Ohio, very good at maintaining a course. And if you're also wondering how we're talking about a Corvette C8R winning, and it's not here in the GT Series, according to Ricmotech Extreme Motorsports rules, drivers aren't allowed to change cars mid-season, so they decided not to include the Corvette for the rest of the season. But don't worry, all you Corvette fanboys, including me and Peter, they will be here next season.
Yep,
along with another car.
They will be here next season, or we won't be, basically. We're going on strike if the Corvette doesn't turn up. But we have been promised by this man on screen, number 32, Kevin Ford. He has promised us, he said, boys, I promise you will have your Corvette next season. And that makes me very happy indeed. I tell you what else makes me happy, Austin, is the fact that my fellow sideburn enthusiast, Jackie Stewart, actually won here at Mid-Ohio. In fact, in 1971, when he was already on the way to his second of 3 Formula One world titles, he actually was racing in Can-Am, and he won here in Carl Haas's Lola Chevrolet. So it's clearly somewhere that the Scots seem to like. Scott Dixon, although he's a Kiwi, he is called Scott, which also helps.
My dad raced here once. His middle name's Scott, so I'm guessing that counts
It must
as well.
be something.
Wasn't fast.
Ooh, look at that time there from Mike Dam. 1 minute 17.716. Now, Mike Dam, of course, as you saw from our video earlier on, Mike won in quite convincing fashion last time out at Laguna Seca at the wheel of his Porsche 911 RSR. And he's just closed the championship just a little bit. Denis Savretic sitting on 150 points right now, but Mike Dam just closed the gap. He's on 128. So Mike Dam really on a charge here. And I tell you what, Mid-Ohio, you know, track position is so important. Overtaking isn't all that simple. So to get that car on pole position right now is ideal.
Yeah, Mid-Ohio, not a lot of overtaking opportunities here. You got the keyhole being the biggest breaking point on the circuit, and after that, the breaking point for that right-left complex, and it's just a whole bunch of follow the leader and probably sticking your nose inside on a few opportunistic corners, but it is absolutely crucial that qualifying will get you in a good spot here. Because if you get a good spot here, it will give you a good spot at the end of the race, preferably, and it will give you a good spot in the standings. And speaking of the standings, Peter, I believe you have them ready for us right now.
Oh, that was seamless, Austin. Let's have a look then at our driver standings. We'll start with the GTE guys. Denis Savretic leading on 150 points in his BMW for Band of Others Racing. Mike Dam in the Porsche 911 RSR for Orion Racing sits on 128. Travis Schwenke sits on 120 in third. And Jen McDonald, with her podium last time out, jumps up to 111 points and fourth place. Ryan Collins is fifth, followed by Justin Corral, Arthur Chan, Jordy Fike, believe our only Ford in the field, Jonathan Corral, Rafael Souza, Wakid Juanja, Aldrudo Sr., Robert Hartley and Miguel Alcrudo. Austin, how are the GT3 runners looking right now?
Well, Elvis Rankin is currently sitting up on first place by a big margin of 28 points ahead of Cameron Martineau. Jose Duolio in third place, followed by Chris Thorman, Caleb Lavender, David Duino, Bobby Childs, Derek Holland, Jeff Jacobs, Tony Kernagh, Kevin Ford, Tyra Giometti, Kevin Hawkinson, Nathan Manning, William Dillon, Russ Ruddick, David Payton, and Raymond G. Rodriguez, followed by Joel Lee, Daniel Munoz, Steve G. Daniel, Matthew Molnar, Jeremiah Kelman, Scott Brooks, and Ken Ladd at the back of the current standings here in our GT3 class.
Now, interesting one, probably the biggest storyline of the day so far is that we do not have Elvis Rankin here today. Now, from what I understand, I was commentating on a race on Saturday that Elvis was racing with his Orion Racing teammates, and he apparently is testing a Lucas Oil Formula car this week in the real world. So Elvis, if you're watching or listening, all the best of luck with your test. Have fun and go quick. We'll miss you. I'm sure your competitors will not miss you though, because of course Elvis has been the standout driver in the GT3 class so far this year. But that gives the rest of the drivers a bit of a chance to make up some ground, Austin.
It absolutely does, but knowing Elvis, he'll probably want a little ease in on the competition, see how they're doing, see how the race progresses, because most people who race in these series and do well and who are just have competitiveness in their bone actually enjoy watching the race immediately after, and they can study it for film. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Elvis Rankin hop in chat.
Well, we'll certainly love to hear from him and Team Rankin, as they are known. So, oh, look at that! What a wonderful paint scheme that is. The 09 of George Fike in the only Ford GT in the field, and I have to say I never get tired of watching these cars going around. Beautiful machine, the Ford GT, and the story of how it was conceived is really, really cool as well. You know, basically Ford decided we've got a 50th anniversary of our first Le Mans win coming up. We need to repeat that, and they took a blank sheet of paper and created this basically homologation special race car, which incidentally, although it was optimized for Le Mans, incidentally, a very close silhouette to the original car from the 60s. Just shows you how ahead of the times that design was. But George about 1.8 seconds off the pace right now, the very hot pace of Denis Savretic, a 1 minute 17.403. But Mike Dam, he's close. He's there just in second position right now, so he'll join him on the front row of the grid, so quite important indeed. If you look over to the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see our SDK overlay graphics from our SDK gaming software. The main thing to look at there is the track temperature. You'll see at the bottom right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that it's 26 degrees centigrade track temperature, which is absolutely perfect. If you don't want the track temperature too cold, because of course the tyres do not like cold temperature, but also you don't want it too high either, and when the track temperature gets excessively high, the track surface can get very greasy and slippy, but not a problem today, so we should see some really hot lap times out there today, Austin.
Yeah, some absolutely blistering times are going to be set here today, and these guys are extremely close to each other. Top 5 in GTE, all within 8/10 of each other, and if you look at the GT3 field, the top 10 are under a second to each other, and look at that battle between first. Cameron Martin, he does have a big gap on everybody else, but just look how tight that field is behind him.
Certainly is, making a great use of this wonderful Ferrari 488 GT3 machine. It's so balanced, this car, mid-engined, twin turbocharged. Interestingly, the car, it actually has in GT3 trim has about 490 to 500 horsepower. However, the basic entry-level version of the street car has 660 horsepower, but such is the balance of performance regulations which exist in GT racing nowadays to try and balance these exotic cars with some of the less exotic machines. But Cameron Martineau got everything that Ferrari's got to give. A 1 minute 21.492, and edges pole position by 0.3 of a second. And as we come into the closing stages of the qualifying session, looks like the grid is going to be pretty much set, Austin.
Yeah, the grid is looking pretty solid right now. The only car on track was actually Cameron Martin, and he's coming off right about now. So we got 30 seconds to breathe in, breathe out, take in this lovely Ohio air, and yeah, just taking some beautiful shots of this track as we wait for these guys to get going on to have a great day of racing here at Mid-Ohio. And it's going to be a tough fight out front, and especially for those guys in the midfield. What's going to be the key to this race, though, is when lapped cars are going to come into effect. These passing cars, these faster cars, these slower cars are going to be looking all over the place. Might be using them as picks to make an overtake, but you got to be active in these little glass reflective things called mirrors sometimes. And to quote Jordan Taylor this weekend,
grid time.
Well,
Dennis Savretic taking the top spot there in GTE. That 17.4 is the pole position for today's race. Congratulations to Dennis. Mike Dam, though, in the Porsche right there. 17.7, just 0.3 back. Jennifer McDowell and Ryan Collins going to round out our front four there in the GTE class. In GT3, it's Cameron Martineau with a smoking 21.2. Almost a 0.3 lead there in qualifying. Take the pole position in the GT3 class over William Dillon. 21.5. Ariel Munoz going to line up right behind Cameron with Bobby Childs next to him in the top four. Good qualifying there for Bobby. Good luck, everybody.
that was our race marshal and starting marshal, letting us know what was going on and who's got what. But starting on pole in GTE is Dennis Savretic, followed by Mike Dam, Jennifer McDonald, or Ryan Collins, Travis Schwenke, Justin Corral, Arthur Chen, and George Feike at the end of the GT3 8-car grid. And on to Peter for our GT3s.
So on pole position is Cameron Martineau for Aquila Orion Racing in the Ferrari. In third place is Daniel Munoz alongside Bobby Childs. Jeff Jacobs starts from 5th alongside Kevin Hawkinson. Chris Thorman will roll off from the 7th position alongside Tony Kernan. Our race organiser, Kevin Ford, will start in the number 32 Ricmotech Ferrari from 9th place. Tyler Guillemette will start 10th, followed by David Payton, Steve Daniel, Scott Brooks, Ross Ruddick, Derek Holland and Lewiski Doleo. So our drivers are very eager to go. Most of them are piled up behind the Porsche 911 safety car. Now, from what I understand, reading through the pre-race notes, that the drivers would be given the actual start will be long after the start finish line, so it'll actually be after the keyhole, the tight right-hand hairpin at turn 2, and then on the basically on the back straight will be where the drivers hit the loud pedal and go for it. So yep. Dennis Savredic is in pole position. He is the man who basically gets the opportunity to pace the field.
Yeah, we're replicating what they do here in real life. We're not going on green flag right here. They're going to do it like we do it in IMSA, like we do it in USF 2000, like we do it in Indy Pro 2000, like we do it in Indy Lights, like we do it in IndyCar, and pretty much how we do it in almost every
GTE,
series that I know that come here.
Pack up and pair up, please. GTE, pack up and pair up.
As the field is getting the orders to pair up, we're going to go around the keel, then down the back straight, underneath the starting stand.
GTE,
and then
go ahead and go to start speed. Start speed, GTE. Stand by for the start.
Sorry for these interruptions.
GT3, pack up and pair up, please. Pack up and pair up, GT3. Start speed halfway down the straightaway, car 112.
Norris Marshall very busy on the radio, but I've had starts right here, and on the restart, they have gone extremely bad for me in real life and in sim, but knowing these guys are going to be keeping it exactly where they need to be as they're starting to pack up just a little bit, waiting for that race marshal to come on and get ready to go as we're approaching the flag stand here on the back stretch here at Mid-Ohio.
Green, GTE.
Let's go GTE Racing here for the Ricmotech GT Challenge at Mid-Ohio.
Down they go then towards turn 4, and Dennis Savredic has got that perfect launch in the BMW M8 for Band of Others Racing, going through the S's and over towards Thunder Valley. Got off to the perfect start. Jim McDonald's moved up into 3rd position in her BMW. So Mike Dam in 2nd. He's in the BMW sandwich right now. We look back to our GT3 runners. Cameron Martineau gasses up that Ferrari, opening up all of those 500 horsepower from the twin-turbo V8 in the back of that Ferrari. Through they go then, through the opening corners, and Cameron Martineau also getting the perfect start. And as usual here in the Ricmotech paddock, excellent respect from all drivers.
Yeah, a little side-by-side between Kevin Ford and Anthony Kernan. They're still side-by-side as they're going through this side-by-side through this blind right-hander, my favorite corner here at Mid-Ohio. And Kevin Ford not giving up any spot, definitely looking a bit stripy today here on the race start. And I thought I saw some damage right there, but he's kept it clean.
Yeah, so, Jen McDonald's had an issue there. Looks like maybe a slowdown penalty, perhaps, or just a little bit compromised on the exit, but she drops down 1 position to Travis Schwenke. So Schwenke's through in the number 16 or Orion Racing machine. Oh my word, that was well held. And Jen McDonald actually really unlucky there, just caught the back, had to check up and just caught the back of Travis Schwenke's machine, and she's got damage to the front of her M8. That they build these BMWs tough in Munich, they can handle it. And oof, that's a bit of an early nudge there, but Jen having to take a bit of evasive action. So not an ideal start for Jen McDonald, but plenty time to go. We've got 75 minutes, and of course 1 compulsory pit stop.
Yeah, Travis Schwenke's handling is going to be a bit messed up after that. That diffuser that BMW has is actually extremely important to that car. So I expect this Porsche of Ryan Collins to be dancing all over him. But that's not going to be affecting his top end speed. But watch his sector times in the other part of the track from sector 2 to sector 3 to start slowing up just a little bit. But just look at the gap that Mike Dam and Dennis Savredic has to these guys already.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're really going to see the contrast between both these two drivers and these two cars. The BMW, it's an absolute dragster, that M8, really fast in a straight line and actually very stable in the corners as well. But the Porsche is really up on its toes and really manoeuvrable. Of course, that mid to rear engine layout of that Porsche allows it just to be able to change direction that little bit better. And the two visits so far, well, certainly before yesterday, 2018 and 2019, when the IMSA Championship came back here, that 911 RSR has won both times in GTLM at the hands of Lawrence Vantor and Earl Bamber. So it's around the back part of the circuit. Watch for Mike Dam in the Porsche, but he's going to have to hang on to Dennis Libretic on the long back straight.
Yeah, thankfully for him, that BMW is a big boy and it's punching a giant hole in the air. So that draft will keep Mike Dam there, but it's not going to do all the work for him. He's got to earn some of his chips to go play with. As we're looking at Chris Thorman in this battle for fifth between Jacob Thompson, Thorman, Kernon, and Ford, as well as the entire rest of the train in the GTE field going down to 13th.
Yeah, so keep an eye on the SDK track map on the right-hand side of your screen. When we get later in the race, when the drivers are all a bit more spread out, the lap traffic is going to be such a factor in this race, because the GT3 cars have actually been given a 5% power reduction to try and make them a little bit easier to pass on the straights, as we see William Dillon going up the inside there, trying to go up the inside of Cameron Martineau, but thinks better of it, tucks in behind his teammate. So it's 111 for Martineau, 114 for William Dillon, and all the while Bobby Childs is approaching there in the D2D esports machine as well. All Ferraris. It's almost like a Ferrari challenge race here in GT3, but we do have a Mercedes and an Audi in there as well. But yeah, coming back to the lap traffic, when you go into the back part of the circuit, when it gets really twisty, it's going to be super difficult for the GTE machines to get by.
Hawkinson snuck in down the inside, received a little bit of bat from Jacobs off exit, but that Audi extremely nimble on the brakes right there. And I'm going to go back to that battle for second we were watching. That was not Kevin Martineau, that was Daniel Munoz. Kevin Martineau, you can pretty much forget him as a GTE right now. He's 3.8 seconds clear of the field.
Wow, that's
so I can see how you got confused with the name right there. I was confused for a bit, and then I looked at the minimap and I had to do a little double take. How did Cameron Martineau get that gap of 4 seconds over second place? Well, I can tell you why. Purple lap of 1:21.707, almost an entire second faster than the rest of the field.
Cameron Martineau, he's obviously buoyed by his performance last week in the Ricmotech Sports Car Series at the Indianapolis Road Course, and obviously feeling very strong after that. Completely different car, of course, here with the Ferrari, but certainly transferable. Certainly transferring it into a good run today so far after just 7 minutes of racing here at Mid-Ohio. A wonderful circuit, really nice and tight and twisty, and in fact, back in 2006, straight out the box, the Porsche RS Spyder LMP2 car beat the might of the LMP1 Audis around this circuit. So nimble was the handling of that car. So you mentioned, you make a great point about the Audi GT3 car, Austin, because that car is pretty twitchy, but it's got a nice short wheelbase and it's actually pretty maneuverable. So it could feature later on in the race.
Yeah, Kevin Hodgson, the only Audi driver we had in the field right now. It's mainly a Ferrari-dominated field because these GT3 Ferraris are absolutely just pumped up with power. Jeff Jacobs in that Mercedes, that is an extremely stable car and a very reliable car to go racing with. So we look at Justin Corral, he's got the Ferrari right behind him, and we're looking at our GTE class, and it's the only GTE Ferrari as Corral goes wide, and looking down to the inside is Arthur Chon, with Jennifer McDonald watching this fight from the rear. But it's Corral, Chon, McDonald right now in the battle for 5th place in our GTE category, and Chon's taking a little bit wider lines.
Yeah, now if you're wondering what on earth is that GT3 Ferrari doing up there in the GTE class, it is not. The Ferrari 488 is available in GT3 format and in GTE format, and that is a GTE Ferrari. They are impossible to tell apart normally. However, thanks to our sponsors Ricmotech, we have an excellent graphic system here. So the GTE cars, they have a red number plate on the side, you'll see there on the side door, and the GT3 cars have a green number plate. So, and also the windscreen strip, or the windshield strip as I should say, is yeah, that's a British term, windscreen, you'll see it's in red there as well for the GTE runners. Now the differences between the cars, they're quite interesting, the difference, because the GTE cars are quite a bit more sophisticated. They've got very sophisticated traction control, a little bit more aerodynamically capable, but similar power, but no anti-lock brakes. So now what has happened here with Kevin Ford coming through to the carousel? Dear, is he about to go round the carousel? Oh, that's a carousel. That's a classic carousel accident, isn't it, Austin?
It is. I've seen so many cars spin out right there, and mostly it's in Rookie Series, and we'll get that driver up in the Ladder Series, and what happens there, guys just carry a little bit too much speed heading into the corner, or somebody bumps them, they'll go around, and the carousel is so odd, because usually you see a car spin out, they'll just fly off the edge of the corner, but since the carousel turns in on itself and it actually has a little bit of banking right there, they just stall out exactly right there, so everyone has to take a evasive line around the outside, and it's completely an awkward situation when there is a spin right there, and I'm just glad that nobody else was involved in there. It was just a self incident, no body damage for everyone else in the midfield. But it's not a good day for Kevin Ford, as he's actually the first car being lapped by our GTE leaders of Dennis Ricmotech and Mike Dam, as we're going to see the lap traffic start playing a role here.
Yeah, this is going to be huge. This is going to be what wins and loses this race. Make no mistake about it. It's not necessarily out and out lap pace. It's all about that traffic management. As you can see from our SDK graphic on the right hand side of your screen, you'll see now that the red GTE runners, the faster cars, are coming up behind the GT3 machines right now. As you'll see, Mike Dam trying to get past Kevin Ford there, just a little bit mired on the middle of the corner there, but it will come back and forward throughout the passage through the traffic. And of course, our drivers, they have to make one compulsory pit stop. We expect the GT3 runners come in anywhere between lap 19 and lap 36, and the GTE runners to come in anytime between lap 18 and lap 40. So quite a wide window, Austin, where the drivers can choose to make their pit stop, and a lot of that can come down to where they are in traffic, either in their own class or with other slower cars on track as well.
Yeah, pit stop strategy is going to be very important on a place where you can't pass a lot. So when you're coming up on traffic, or you feel like traffic is going to be coming up on you, and you see on your minimap, if you have a minimap application, or on your relative that's a big pack of cars, you can try to outsmart your opponent that you're probably fighting with, and go for a early pit stop and undercut with them, and using that traffic that you know that's going to hold you up, try to hold them up and get a better outlap and a much cleaner outlap. So early on in the race, if you see somebody doing a very early pit stop, that's what they're going for.
Okay, so Jen McDonald trying to recover. She qualified incredibly well. Of course, remember, she's sitting third in the championship right now. She's kind of got a little bit stuck here behind Arthur Chan in the Ferrari. But we know this BMW's got a lot of grunt. Oh my word, that's a big look. Oh, does she... Wow, well held. Wow, rallycross style. That was a big old save there. Oh, it's been an eventful start to the race for Jen McDonald. She's packed a lot of action into the opening 13 minutes.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Jennifer McDonald. She's been very good on the brakes, but unfortunately, in traffic, that BMW loses a bit of that front grip it has in the braking zone, and it goes a little bit longer than she's probably used to in practice, and unfortunately just gets into the that's a second car that we've caught her getting into the rear of, but nothing big has happened out of it. No big damage to Arthur Chan. Just a small tap. Very nice save from Jennifer McDonald, and probably a great photo opportunity to just see a sliding BMW right there.
Oh yeah, she'll be saving that replay, get the cinematographer in there, and get a good oversteer shot. Always good when you can see the hands switching over, putting in the oversteer inputs. Now, Mike Dam is definitely the traffic pendulum is swinging back into Mike Dam's favour now, because when they entered this phase of traffic, the gap was 1.7 seconds. It's now only 1.0 seconds. So, and look at this, Dennis Fretic just getting stuck at the wrong moment in the braking. You'll notice the GTE cars are a little bit, although they don't have anti-lock brakes, their brakes are much stronger and their aerodynamics are much stronger as well. But you need the track position to be able to use that advantage. In a straight line, well, there is a massive amount of difference, and that's why the GT3 cars have been pegged back 5%. Now, here we go. It's just going here into the back part of the circuit. The gap is now 1 second.
It's not good.
Wait, it's not going to be 1 second anymore because, but Dennis Savretic's hit traffic as well, so it's really busy.
The GTEs are so balanced in front of him that nobody realized an advantage as Mike Dam makes a very aggressive move. He's going to get the early jump on Dennis Savretic, who's going to be having a compromised exit, and Mike Dam's gained a lot of time right there, but now he has to deal with that Ferrari heading into the carousel. He can try to go around the outside to set up for that exit, which he's going to try to do right now. More downforce and grip in that GTE, but that corner is so slow, it is very hard to actually do around the outside in a very low downforce car compared to open wheelers. So that gap, 1.7 seconds as they entered the keel last time by, it's now going to be 1.5 seconds. So 2/10 gain for Mike Dam that time.
Yeah, it's just going back and forward all the time, and it's all about that patience, isn't it? Because we saw it again. We saw some very high-profile drivers get into problems in the IMSA WeatherTech Championship yesterday. The prototype drivers making a lot of contact with the GTD runners, and just getting a little bit impatient and trying to push moves that probably weren't there and spoiling not only their race, but the car they were lapping's race as well. But you have to say, Austin, that Dennis and Mike have been clinically clean coming through the pack so far.
Absolutely. These guys have been absolutely fantastic right now. No contact whatsoever between GTE and GT3 cars so far. So we're looking at this battle between Hawkinson and Thorman. As you can see, that red BMW slowly coming up of Dennis Savretic. This battle might be a site of our first pick overtake attempt from a GT3 using a GTE car as a little bit of a buffer in a corner.
Yeah, I always think of it as like a basketball screen. When to use a sporting term as well, where you can use the traffic as little chess pieces on the board of a multi-class sports car race. And I think that's why, as sports car fans, I mean, there's so much to love. Of course, you've got the variety. You've got, no matter what you're into, you know, if you're a golfer, you've got a BMW M8. If you're a professional soccer player, you've got a Ferrari. If you're something in between, you've got an Audi R8, you know, so there's, or if you're a connoisseur, you've got the Porsche 911. So that's the thing with sports car racing. There's something for everyone, but also the dynamic of the multi-class system where, you know, there are slower and faster cars out there on track, working in different classes that have to kind of, you know, co-inhabit the racetrack. That's what makes it such an intriguing sport to watch.
It absolutely is, and you forgot one thing. If you're American, you got the Corvette.
Oh, if you're Scottish, you can. I hope I'll be an honorary Kentucky. Would you say? Now, what is the word to describe someone from Kentucky? Would you say a Kentucky mint, or what's the word, Austin? Kentuckyite.
I never actually thought of this.
Someone from Kentucky. Bowling Green. I have to say that is one thing that's on my my list is to go to the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
I have been there, and I was there a week after the sinkhole happened.
No way. Were you really?
This way. Yes, I was.
Wow, that's very cool. And is it as cool as I think it's going to be?
It is absolutely cool. The sinkhole place has been repaired, so you didn't get to see a giant hole in the ground with a few wrecked Corvettes in front of it, which was depressing and the coolest thing I've ever seen. And while we were right there, we were actually traveling up to Mid-Ohio.
Ah, well, there you go. So we've not digressed completely talking about Corvettes, but yeah, next season in the Ricmotech GT Challenge, we will have that wonderful Corvette C8R, which is on its way to IMSA Championship glory at the moment in the hands of Jordan Taylor and Antonio Garcia. And actually, the number 4 Corvette at Petit Le Mans, if the number 4 Corvette wins at Petit Le Mans, Ollie Gavin will become the most successful ever driver in that race with 6 wins.
He absolutely will, and I got a great comment from Jack in the YouTube chat. People from Kentucky are called the hillbillies.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Now, I must be clear, we do not endorse that statement. That's for sure. In fact, as you know, Austin, I used to work in the Scotch whisky business, and we were absolutely dependent on bourbon barrels to mature our Scotch whisky. In fact, did you know that 90% of Scotch whisky is matured in an American bourbon barrel cask?
I did not know that, and I'm pretty sure the Kentuckians are going to be very happy to know that as well.
They are, yeah, they are. So please don't tell Donald that, because he might put a tax on it.
I unfortunately, I do not have any connections with our commander-in-chief up there.
Anyway, riding on board with Travis Schwenke at the wheel of his BMW M8. Now he's having to get by, or try to get by Arthur Chan, but no such luck yet. Arthur making that Ferrari 488 GTE really wide here, coming through turn 1 here, this very, very fast sweeping left-hander. You've got to watch that curve on the inside. You see Porsche Corral, just clipping it on the inside there. We're going past a GT3 Ferrari on the left-hand side. Now, that was really interesting there, Austin. Travis just hesitated slightly. He didn't know if the GT3 car had seen him.
Yeah, you got to be very careful when you see a GT3 car. Like, sometimes they see you, sometimes you don't know if they see you, and you just got to have a little bit of trust. But safety is key here in sports car racing, and every bit of racing. These cars are safe. You got to drive safely, because if you want to make it this entire hour, 15 minutes here, you got to be safe. And he was just being very safe. He's got his own class in front of him. He's got a GT3 on the outside. He's got a long race ahead. So instead of just absolutely sending it in there with the other guys, he just took his little time to see what that GT3 was doing.
Just an update on the front of the GTE classes. As we look at the front of Travis Schwenke's menacing BMW M8. You've got to think the Ferrari will just be that little bit more manoeuvrable around here, but that's an imposing view in the mirror. But yeah, just an update on the front of the GTE field. Denis Sabretic leads by 2.3 seconds now, so clearly the traffic has swung back in his favour, and this is really important. Take a look at the top right hand side of your screen, the SDK graphic. You'll see the track map there. Now Denis Sabretic and shortly Mike Dam will have a lot of clean air to go. And you've got to think, Austin, that although their pit window is opening on the next lap, they're going to want to use all of that free track space while they've got it.
Yeah, they have a bunch of real estate right now, but Denis Sabretic has the better advantage because Mike Dam is still behind Cameron Martineau, who I would say is just 3 seconds off the pace of these guys. But it's in the most important sector that Cameron Martineau is holding up Mike Dam, and that is through sectors 2 and 3. I was going to see that Porsche flashing his lights, trying to get past of the GT3 leader. Here he goes down to the inside, and now it's going to be pace versus pace here at Mid-Ohio between our leaders here in the GTE category, Denis Sabretic and Mike Dam. 3 seconds separates them right now as we enter lap 18.
I tell you what, Denis Sabretic got some big oversteer there going through the carousel, through the final section there. Held on to it well, but that must have been a big moment on board. But he held on to it And we just know that Dennis, once he gets clean air, he is robotically consistent. He can just click out those laps one after the other, and we've seen him do it so many times in this GT Challenge series. Of course, he's progressed to the GTE class this season after winning the GT3 championship last season, and well, at the moment holds this is the race order is championship order. Dennis Segretti leading the championship by 22 points from Mike Dam as we head into the second half of the season, but plenty of racing to go. And if you think this route, I mean, as you can see on screen here, viewers, how tight and twisty the back part of the Mid-Ohio circuit is. Spare a thought for Mark Donoghue back in 1973, who won the Can-Am race here in the Porsche 91730, which had reportedly 1100 brake horsepower. That must have been mildly terrifying driving that car around here.
Especially through the tight and twisty section, but what I would have paid to see that thing go. I remember the Trans Am series comes here, they still do. And the TA2 cars, those things are absolutely a blast to watch. Very powerful muscle cars, and they get flung around here, and they get a bit sideways from a few very aggressive drivers.
Yeah, there's something cool when you see a car that's got way more horsepower than grip, which makes it so spectacular to watch. And in the Can-Am days, well, that was certainly the case, and actually a big part of the McLaren legacy was laid down in that particular series as well. And also, did you know, Austin, that Porsche 91730 still holds the outright speed record at Talladega Superspeedway? They went, and Mark Donoghue did a speed run there, something like 230 miles an hour in the early 70s at Talladega. That must have been incredibly frightening. But they actually towed the car to the circuit behind a station wagon. The days before the big Penske truck, obviously.
Which station wagon were they towing it behind? Because I feel like that might have been a marketing stunt.
Could have been. I would imagine it must have been from one of Roger's dealerships, I presume. As well, and so of course Mr. Penske won here yesterday. The number 6 Acura DPI winning in the hands of Ricky Taylor.
Oh wait, we got a car off.
Oh, that's Jim McDonald, I think.
It's
one of the BMWs. It is. Oh, another problem for Jen.
Oh wow,
she's going. What's going on there? Going to lap a GT3 car, going round the outside.
And contact.
Gets turned around by the 114.
William Dillon.
It has not been Jen's day today.
No, it hasn't. She's been given the short end of the stick so many times today, and now she's just catching up back to this field. And the best thing that she could do is head down, continue this race, and just wait. And there's always next to me, and she almost gets pushed off a track right there from that Ferrari. And oh my goodness, she's not going to be happy after this race.
No, this is sometimes. Austin, what do you think for strategy-wise here? You know, the GTE window is now open for the pits, so she could come in and get her pit stop, and she could
immediately.
That's what I was thinking. Get out of this sequence and maybe just reset mentally as well, I guess.
Yeah, when you just reset mentally, it's going to be it's going to be much better. Now that incident is under review right now from Race Control. They're having a look at it, and when I was looking at that incident, I'm not really sure who was really at fault right there. It's a very tight corner.
It's so hard to call, isn't it? But one thing is we've seen the guys at Extreme Motorsports and Ricmotech do an amazing job stewarding. Stewarding is an absolutely thankless task. You're never going to keep everybody happy. And tell you what, the guys here are really fair, really consistent, and one thing that I always like to see, Austin, is they don't take any nonsense. If you misbehave, you will be penalised quite heavily. And as we can see, as our viewers will have seen 28 minutes so far, the conduct between the drivers here in the Ricmotech paddock across all 3 series that we have, the GT Challenge, the Sports Car Series and the Classic Sprint Series, across the board, the behaviour and the conduct of the drivers is absolutely first class. Some of the best you'll see in sim racing.
Yeah, these guys are very nice to everyone else. And Travis Schwenke is going to be our first GTE car in the pit lane.
Now, we've seen Travis do this before. We saw him do this at Zolder, where Zolder, there was a very wide pit window, and we saw him come in very early and make that work. Now, of course, as you can see there, I've just forgotten about that. He's got that little bit of damage on the back of the car, so he might just stay that little bit longer and just get maybe a bit of that repaired and just try to get the balance of the car back a little bit. But this could work quite well for Travis Schwenke. No tyres. We're not expecting our drivers to take tyres in this 75-minute race, so they've got to make it last over the whole time.
Oh,
he's off and going again.
He's came out directly in front of Jennifer McDonald, who stayed out. And McDonald, it's going to feel a little bit of deja vu right there, as she's now back behind Travis Schwenke, who on the opening laps she got into contact with, and Travis Schwenke didn't repair that damage he has on the back of that car, but Jennifer still has the damage on the front of her car. So these two damaged BMWs at the back of the field right now, but Travis Schwenke trying to go the long game and big brain this one here today, like he did at Zolder.
Yeah, he certainly did it work. And sometimes sometimes you just got to roll the dice as well. As we see, Arthur Chan brings his Ferrari in, the only Ferrari in the GTE field. Of course, we saw a lot of those Ferraris out at Le Mans a couple of weeks ago. My favourite one of them was the number 85 Iron Dames car of Michelle Gatting, Manuela Gosner, and friend of the Peter Mackay Motorsport podcast, Rahel Fry, and they got the car into the top 10 for the second year running with a nice clean run across the whole 24 hours. Excellent plug right there. What, did you like that? That was oh, now speaking of plugs, we should mention now our sponsors, Ricmotech, who provide wonderful high-performance sim racing equipment.
Oh no, Kevin!
Does that count as a commentator's curse? Do you think Kevin's using his old wheel? He's not using his Ricmotech wheel, up here.
No, I think he. I think he was hearing. I think he might be listening to the broadcast and heard that plug you did and might have got a bit upset.
Possibly, but no, in all seriousness, if you're new to watching sim racing, if this is one of your first times watching here in the Ricmotech paddock on Apex Racing TV, first of all, welcome. We hope you're enjoying the coverage so far. Now, if you're wanting to get into sim racing and then get involved with iRacing, or you've maybe played Gran Turismo or Forza on your games console, well, there is nothing better than a proper sim rig setup, and the folks at Ricmotech can help you with that. Give them a call. They'll be happy to discuss with you your needs, and you will not believe the realism of the technology for pedals, steering wheels, gear shifters, all these sorts of things. And Ricmotech are one of the leaders in the industry. Austin, I believe you've got yourself a fancy new wheel. Just try and give our viewers an impression of just how accurate the feedback is with the new technology.
Well, from driving in real life with a old USF model car, but I have driven the Skippy that's in the sim right now. It is probably the closest experience I've ever had on any sim compared with it. My old wheel wasn't the most powerful. It just gave me a little bit of feeling, and I just used it to map out the track. I'm actually feeling the car. I'm feeling the wheels. I'm feeling the ground with this new wheel technology that I have. And this is just a mid-range wheel. It's not the top direct drive stuff that some of the guys have right now, but the pedals feel great. They feel realistic. They got that nice feel to them. And everything about it is just realistic to the T. Unless when I get into a NASCAR and I'm driving for Formula Rim, but that's the only downside.
Well, it's certainly amazed me. I mean, I've been playing driving games my entire life, and that was a big part of my love of motorsport and how it developed, was driving on games like Gran Turismo and Colin McRae Rally and things like that. But I tell you what, since I've been driving on iRacing, it's just another level. And I think when you get so many real world racing drivers advocating that technology, that really tells a big story. And so yeah, give the guys at Ricmotech a shout, and they'll be delighted to help you out with getting started with sim racing. So, update at the front. I tell you what, that gap is not moving, is it, Austin? Denis Savretic leading Mike Dam by 3.5 seconds, and now they're starting to come into the second phase of traffic. It'll be interesting how that's going to play out.
They are coming into the second phase of traffic, and actually right behind him, Luisky D'Olio's had a spin at turn 1. But yeah, during this entire time, Denis Savretic and Mike Dam have pulled away a pretty good gap, but Savretic has pulled out a half-second gap, and there's that turn 1, very dangerous inside curb. Luisky D'Olio locks at the brakes and kept it in the grass, reverses back onto the track in clear air as we go back live to our first place car, number 79, Denis Savretic. Big amount of oversteer on the exit as he's passing the number 12, the P12 of Kevin Ford right there.
Yeah, difficult day for Kevin so far. He's had a couple of offs so far, but as usual, super clean in traffic as well is Kevin. Now, while we're on the subject of our sponsors Ricmotech, we're going to take a tiny little break here on Apex Racing TV, and here is a little message from our sponsors. Do not go anywhere, we'll be right back here in the Ricmotech GT Challenge from Mid-Ohio. Welcome back to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. As you see, Denis Savretic, the championship leader, leading this race by 3.7 seconds from the Porsche 911 RSR of Mike Dam, as we see Mike howling down the back straight in that 4-litre flat sick machine from Weissach. Shouldn't be too long before these drivers come into pit lane. We're expecting the GTE runners to make their pit stops anywhere between lap 18 and lap 40. We're on lap 28 right now, so we're right nestled in the middle of that pit window. For the GT3 runners in the class, you'll see their green number on the side of the door there. The GT3 runners, we're expecting them to come in anywhere between lap 19 and lap 36. So we're getting to the end of their pit window, so expect the GT3 runners who haven't pit to lay down some pretty quick lap times in the next few laps, as they'll be on pretty low fuel at this point.
Yeah, everyone's going to be setting quicker and quicker lap times, but somebody is just constantly has been setting quick lap times. Is Cameron Martineau, who is sitting 12.5 seconds clear of the field right now. There's GT3s, there's GTEs, and then there's GT 2.5, which is Cameron Martineau.
Yeah, he's certainly doing the business right now, isn't he? But you have to think that he would be having a great old battle with the wonder kid Elvis Rankin right now. Hopefully, we'll have Elvis back for the next round. I tell you what, it's kind of strange not having Elvis here, because of course he races in all three of the Ricmotech series, the Classic Sprint series in the Mazda MX-5 Miata, and the Sports Car series in a Porsche Cayman, and here in the Ferrari, as we see George Fike coming through in his Ford GT. He's a good run for George right now in the Ford. He's sitting in 4th position right now. So good run for him in the Ford GT.
Absolutely fantastic. And speaking of Elvis Ringen, he is here right now. He is watching in our YouTube chat, and he's active in the chat. And right when I was talking about camera monitor, quote, kind of expected that, end quote.
Well, that's hope he's ready for I think Cameron, he's on that. Well, as you know, Austin, tell us about, you know, you've done a bit of racing both in sim and real world. Confidence, you know, I used to play golf and curling, you know, two of the most Scottish sports like you could imagine of, at a pretty decent level, and confidence was massive. When your confidence was off, you just couldn't do anything, but when you were on, you could feel like you could take on the world. In racing, I presume it's the same, and it seems to me that Cameron, he's had a couple of strong weekends, or a couple of strong races here in the Ricmotech paddock. Do you think he's just on one of those kind of purple patches of form right now?
Confidence is a massive thing in motorsports. I remember I would set goals with myself when I would be racing. I always aimed for a top 10. Whenever I would just get into a rut of 11th, 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 I would just be so mad at Daniel Munoz is missing his frunk of that Ferrari, and he goes wide, and that hood is providing a little bit unstability, but he's going to head into the pit lane. And notice how I said frunk. That's because the engine is in the middle, and I really wanted to say frunk right there.
I've never heard that saying, but I like it. That reminds me of... Whoa! We've got one of the Ferraris spinning in the background. Oh, my word, that's a big one. Oh, that turn one here at Mid-Ohio has caught out a number of drivers, but for any of our drivers who have been caught out there, do not worry, because you're in pretty illustrious company. Juan Pablo Montoya made exactly the same mistake there yesterday in an Acura prototype.
Which brought out a yellow flag, which pretty much came for probably the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life. But Ricmotech, well, he had a pretty good show in his mirror. He's got a good gap ahead, 3 cars ahead of him. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes into the pits right now. They're closing in on 45 minutes, and these GTEs are getting a little bit lighter than usual. And Ricmotech looking good, but Mike Dam, I think he's playing for a pit stop.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on it then. We'll keep the camera on Mike Dam, the Canadian, the number 93 machine.
Nope.
So steady. No, not yet. But these, yeah, I can see what you're thinking, Austin, because he's got some pretty big traffic to get through right now. And there you go. Just when you don't need it in the GTE car. In the straight line, there's not a massive difference, but mid-corner, that's where the GTE car makes up all its difference. I guess it's kind of as close to a prototype road car as you'll get, if you like. You know how a GT3 machine, they start with the road car and they sort of change little bits and pieces on it, but the GTE machine, or GTLM as it's known in IMSA, well, it's a different ball game, isn't it? It's got much wider bodywork, huge rear diffuser, as you can see, to push the car down. It's just an overall more sophisticated machine, and makes up all its lap time mid-corner.
Yeah, the GTE cars compared to the GT3 cars are training wheels to full-on expensive mountain bikes, or giant road racing bikes if you're going by biking terms. You just get a little $50 training wheel set from local bike shop like Walmart. The next thing you know, you're heading out online, going to biking conventions, and those are where the GTEs of the biking world are. As Mike Dam looks down to the inside, very easy overtake on that'll be Scott Brooks. He just lets him pass.
Making his way through on the GT3. I mean, if you're for the motorcycle guys out there, it's kind of like the GT3 is kind of like a superbike, and the GTE is kind of like a MotoGP machine, a Grand Prix machine, just that little bit more sophisticated and a heck of a lot more expensive. And of course, that's a bit of the debate right now in motorsport. In fact, I had the great privilege a couple of weeks ago, Austin, to speak to Owen Hayes, who used to work for Porsche, and in fact was one of the lead engineers on the Porsche RS Spider project. And he said he is very, very strongly opinionated about it, and I completely agree with him. He said the the GTLM, GTE formula is completely irrelevant and unnecessary nowadays. He says the GT3 format is the way forward. There's no reason for the two of them to exist together, and I have to agree with them. What's your view on it for the future of sports car racing, or GT racing specifically?
GT racing, I've always seen it as the true stock car version of racing, the race modified stock cars of the world. It's kind of what NASCAR should have been. I honestly believe that GT3 is the most fun series to watch because it's the most closer to realistic racing that you get when you put two cars that have just been released out against each other. And with all the technology that going into cars right now, and they're not being implemented into the GTEs, there's no point to really be seeing any stuff for GTEs, and GT3s are the future of sports cars. But another future of sports cars is the hypercar, which I'm very excited to see get implemented into the WEC series very soon.
Yeah, we've got lots to, certainly in the prototype side of things, we've got lots to look forward to with the hypercar in the World Endurance Championship, and the one I'm most excited about, Austin, is the LMDH, which is a kind of a bit of a progression from the current DPI formula, which has been pretty successful as well. They're wonderful cars with such great variety between them. You know, I love watching IMSA where you've got this absolutely howling 4-cylinder 2-liter twin turbo of the Mazda, and then the big old V8 in the Cadillac. You know, it's just, and both absolutely inseparable in the timesheets. I mean, it's an excellent formula, but we'll see. Hopefully it will go down well as we see Chris Thorman bringing his D2D Esports Ferrari GT3 into pit lane. So that's right on the edge. That car, the fuel light definitely will have been on. That's right at the end of the expected pit window. So he's got 30 minutes to go from there. But Dennis Savreddick, he still carries on pounding around, and he's got a good bit of open track right now. But well, he's about
coming
to
up
come.
on some traffic.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic coming up in the not too distant future, so this could be a perfect time for him to jump into pit lane and get that pit stop and get out in a bit of clean air.
It absolutely is. And while we're talking about GTEs, GT3s, LMDH, hypercar, I want to go back to the LMDH stuff, because the thing I love about that series, about that car class, is they're allowing the manufacturers to take the base of the car but apply their own bodywork, kind of like what NASCAR does to the front ends of their cars, and each car is going to look completely different from the other one, which is going to provide even more excitement for cars that just look absolutely rapid right now. And I can't wait to see what those cars look like on track and how they perform to each other, and if we might get a LMDH hypercar spec in iRacing soon.
Well, we'll see. Who knows? We'll see. I mean, Dallara, they are obviously been a great partner of iRacing over the last couple of years. They are one of the 4 chosen chassis manufacturers. And I think that's the great thing about the LMDH regulation. It's been written, John Doonan, the former Mazda Motorsports boss, has come in to be the new boss of IMSA, and has done a great job ever since he's come in. And he's done a great job of bringing IMSA and the World Endurance Championship organisers, who obviously are the Le Mans organisers as well, and bringing them together for the future. But yeah, of course, it's great that the manufacturers don't have to worry about developing a chassis or anything like that. They just have to put in the engine that they want, and like you say, Austin, the bodywork that they want. Also, there's a specification hybrid system which will be going into each car as well, which is bought off the peg so that they can kind of tick that box from a marketing aspect. Here she comes then, Jen McDonald.
And Dennis Sauerteich, but not Mike Dam. Mike Dam trying to go for the overcut, and seeing on how long he can stay out there on that fuel, it's going to be on the edge for Mike. So this might get a bit tricky, but Mike Dam taking over the lead here in the Ricmotech High Performance Sim Racing Equipment GTC GT Challenge Series, presented by Proforma Elite Texas Graphics. And Mike Dam in that 93. Just probably wants a confidence boost right now. He's going for that number 1 spot. He sees that he has a clear track ahead. And Dennis he exited out behind traffic.
This could be really, really interesting here. Mike Dam is just... Does he have 1 lap's worth of cleared run? I don't think he does. I think he's now going to see just ahead of him that big gaggle of GT3 cars. I think this is when he's going to jump into pit lane, and Dennis Sevredic, he would have heard Mike Dam's howling Porsche coming by, and he would have heard him going by going, oh, there goes Mike, he's not decided to pit. It's a loud car, this, and it's for me, this is a 4-wheeled musical instrument, this 911 RSR. Of course, it's been updated now for a larger capacity engine of 4.2 with side exit exhaust, which is slightly different, and he goes round again. This is an interesting call. This is risky. You're right, Austin.
He is catching up on some traffic, but I think he just knows that Mike Dam, that Dennis Sevredic is having a little bit of traffic, and that traffic that he was catching up to was on that pit window right now, and Dennis was caught up in traffic that was going to pit anyway, and so they're abnormally slower, but now Dennis has clear track ahead of him for a while. But just look at the gap. Mike Dam just now exiting onto the back straight through that right-hand kink as Dennis Sevredic was just going through the keyhole. 25 seconds. Mike Dam could theoretically pit right now and exit in the lead.
It's going to be too close to call. Let's see.
He's
then
in traffic right now, though.
He's
right
in the traffic. Oh no, that's massive!
And that was the risk we were talking about, and that, I don't want to say it, but unfortunately is the race for Mike Dam.
Well, as far as being tagged by a back marker goes, that couldn't have really gone much better, if you kind of know what I mean. Is that could have been... He's not
in a wall. He's not in a wall.
Exactly.
No damage on the car, but
Didn't even spin.
really hurt his pace by at least a second. And that's going to be helping Dennis Sevredic a lot if he's got his relative just to the cars in class, but he's coming up to a slow car right here. And that race control incident between car number 93 and 64 is under review. And here's Sevredic coming down the front short straight, and he's going to easily get past Mike Dam.
Oh, that's gutting for Mike Dam. I mean, he actually looked like he'd given the GT3 car plenty of room, and it was just one of those racing incidents, that risk that's always there in lap traffic. And you could tell Mike was pushing, but just 2 or 3 corners away from a perfect, and like you say, you called it, Austin, I think the overcut was, I think it was on, but now he's sit 5.6 seconds behind Dennis, and that's going to be really hard to run that down over the next 24 minutes.
It absolutely is going to be next to impossible, because Dennis Sevredic is absolutely on it. Unless something happens that happened to Mike Dam, happens to him, you never really want to wish it as a fan of the sport or as a driver, but secretly in the back of your head, you're kind of wishing something bad happens to the car in front of you when it gets to desperate times. And, well, when it comes to desperate times, it comes to desperate measures. We might see Mike Dam getting a little bit too aggressive, but if you look at the gap to the car behind him, I think Mike Dam's just going to relax and think, I'm in second. I don't want to just blow my horn right now and just, I'm just going to accept second place. But he's still going to try to go, but he's already dropped down in a entire second that lap to Dennis Sevredic. So I think he's accepted his fate.
Possibly, yeah, and I think he can now just try and run those clean laps and just take that little bit less risk around traffic, and you never know what can happen. We just saw, what Mike was running really clean through the traffic, and just unfortunately just got clipped by the GT3 Ferrari there, which for Mike, he could have easily ended up in the wall and his race be over completely there, but the car control, he didn't even spin, Austin. He still managed to kind of slide it over the tarmac and keep the car in a straight line. I mean, I'm sure we'll get a chance to chat to him after the race, and hopefully he won't mind talking about it, but what a save. I mean, although that's maybe cost him a chance at the win, he's still looking to finish second right now, and it just could have been so much worse.
Yeah, that incident is under review, and looking back at it in my head, I believe Mike Dam held him a little bit tighter because that lap car did go out just a little bit, but he was just following the regular racing line. He wasn't expecting Mike Dam to just hold his line that tight. But I feel like it's just going to be a racing incident and nothing's going to be done really towards that, as we're looking at our battle for second in class between Dylan and Childs, as they have a GTE right behind them. And that's the 16 and 09. And that's the battle for third in the GTE. And as I said, no action.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the right call. It's just one of those racing incidents that just can happen from time to time. And you could tell there, Austin, that both drivers, neither of which did anything negligent. It's just sometimes what can happen when you're pushing through a race. So no, right, good call there from the stewards, I would say. So you see Tyler Guillemette trying to recover from that earlier spin. He had a big old spin there coming out of turn one a few laps ago in his Ferrari. Tell you what, that Ferrari is such a planted machine. It's got lovely balance. Maybe a little bit of understeer, but just only a little bit, which actually makes it really nice and safe and predictable. It's a wonderful car. But I tell you what, I wouldn't want to run one of those in the real world. I read an excellent piece on dailysportscar.com about the costs of going GT3 racing, and the Audi apparently is about 13 to 14 euros per kilometre. The Ferrari, 39 euros per kilometre to run that car.
It's a Ferrari. That's all I need to say. And that was oh, that's not Jake. Is that Jacobs? Is that Jeff Jacobs?
Yes, he's just gone past Jacobs. Yes, in the Merc. Yep.
Oh, I'm thinking of the other. I've got confused.
No problem. Well,
thought
yeah,
that was a BMW.
Well, the Jeff Jacobs is German in its front engine, so we'll give you that one. It's close enough. This is, of course, the Alfterbach, the AMG GT. I have to say, this is one of the best looking GT3 cars. A huge 6.2 litre V8 in the front of that car. And this car, when you watch these cars in the hands of the German factory drivers tearing around the Nürburgring in the middle of the night, it is a sight to behold, with that thundering V8 engine just thumping along behind it. It's a real battle axe of a car, quite different from the Ferrari.
Now, you said earlier in the broadcast that your dream trip would be to the Corvette Museum. My dream trip, Nürburgring 24 hours.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. Tell you what, we'll do a fly over to Scotland, and then we'll do a road trip in the camper van.
All right. I'm not sure how to go into a road trip overseas, but you land here in Texas, we'll do an American road trip that way.
We'll try to drive out of Texas. It'll take a week.
You aren't wrong.
As we see George Feick coming in the Ford GT, so he'll want to fill up with fuel to feed that 3.5 litre twin turbo V6. Can you imagine, Austin, that those cars, when they had to build a certain amount to homologate the car, £440,000, and they had to tell a large number of very wealthy and important people that they weren't important enough to own one. Basically, they invited those who had applied to buy the car, and they were told, 2 years, you've got to own it for 2 years before you sell it privately. And now those cars are coming onto the market for over £1 million a go. So not a bad little investment if you can do it.
And probably one of my favorite TV segments, Jeremy Clarkson in Top Gear, when he completely changed his mind about all Fords after he applied to be on that list.
Absolutely, quite right. Of course, he owned one of the Ford GTs made in 2000. I think it was in 2004. The previous model came out, and he owned one of those residents in the Isle of Man.
I do remember that. I also remember him trying to get into the original Ford GT, and he couldn't even fit in. Yeah,
you wonder how Ken Miles fitted in, because he was a tall guy as well, and of course won I think he would have preferred the some of the Target Top versions that they raced in. Of course, they won Sebring there with one of the Target Top versions as well. So we see Justin. Oh, dearie me, that was close.
That's why when you're in multi-class racing, it's always nice to have a little bit set rules on who's doing what. Follow the racing line is probably the biggest one, but when you're closing in that fast off the exit, on William Dillon right now, who's had a good race today. He qualified second, he stayed second, he fell down to third just a little bit, but on pit strategy, we haven't talked about this guy at all today. He's got back up to second place.
Yeah, he's really charging in that Aquila Racing Ferrari GT3, number 114 machine. 23 seconds, that would just take just one tiny rub with lap traffic for Cameron Martineau, and it could all change on its head. We've seen it happen before, but Cameron Martineau, he is clearly in a purple patch of form right now, just getting in the groove, doing a great job as well. Speaking of, Dennis Savretic, the same, 6.9 seconds ahead of Mike Dam right now, and I think we'll be, I'm sure if we're thinking it, Mike Dam will certainly be thinking it. He'll be going to bed tonight thinking, if it wasn't just for that tiny incident, he could have challenged Savretic for the win tonight, I think.
The key to being consistently fast in race cars is to get over incidents fast. It's racing, stuff like this happens. At Mid-Ohio, when I raced here, I unfortunately ended my racing career due to an incident that was not my fault. And for a while, I know I would just like mope around all day, just be like, if I was still racing, I would probably still be doing this professionally. It might be in IndyCar, but I learned after like 2 years that focusing on incidents is not good. Then I got back into simulator racing and I fell back in love of racing again. So focusing on incidents that you were in is not going to be how Mike Dam's going to be. He's going to refocus himself, and I'm going to say next week I'm expecting Mike Dam and Dennis to go head-to-head in a absolute banger of a race.
I agree. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker. The next race in this particular championship is at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or Mosport for as a lot of people still remember it as. That is on October the 19th, but of course, we have Monday night is Ricmotech night. We have lots of upcoming races every Monday night at the same time every week. We have the Sports Car Series and the Classic Sprint Series as well. And many of those series, of course, you see drivers like Mike Dam, Cameron Martineau, Travis Schwenke. They compete in all of those series. And it's great to see them hopping out of different cars and showing their pace in all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. We're looking at a battle for 5th class between Justin Corral and Arthur Chan, not Anthony. Corral looking down to the inside, just trying to find his right move. He's in his element in that Porsche, in these quick left-rights through the hills, and that Ferrari is definitely on the list. Chan just getting a bit wide right here, and here comes Justin.
Tell you what, Arthur Chan has done a great job today. There's so many times he's had some really quick drivers behind him, but he just, under pressure, he just clips out those apexes, and he just does not make it easy for those drivers to pass him.
Wider lines and different lines, that's how you defend here at Mid-Ohio, even though regular lines always defend here.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's one of those intriguing layouts as well, is when you go, basically if you get through turn 4 at the end of the back straight, you can usually keep a car behind you, but we'll see if Arthur Chan can keep that going. He's holding 5th position right now. That would be a good finish for him in the Ferrari. He's not in the top 5 of the championship right now, but a 5th place finish today would give him a good bag of points.
Justin Corral is dancing on that bumper of Arthur Chan. And it's just getting that Porsche a nice, good look. Trying to find any opportunity that he can, but I'm expecting him to try something into this carousel because he's got a few lap cars ahead of him. And here comes Arthur Chan with a nice switchback, a nice look down to the inside, but it was very well defended by Arthur from Justin Corral.
Oof, and you got just a little bobble there on the inside of the corner for Arthur Chan. Just need to be careful not to run that too tight a line here, especially through turn 1. You've got to watch for that curb, and they're coming up against big traffic. This is another chance for Corral as they've got GT3 runners in front of them. Corral, opens the door. Arthur Chan opens the door. Will Corral shove it up inside? No, he doesn't, but they've dragged down the back straight now, and Arthur Chan still holding that 5th place in only 10.5 minutes to go.
Chan's got a good exit, but here comes Justin Corral. He's not going to be held up in the braking zone. Arthur Chan absolutely sending it onto the entrance, and that 80 car just going to be letting Justin Corral by, and that is something Arthur Chan does not want to see behind him.
Yeah, and I tell you what, that the number 80 Mercedes there, probably thinking, looking in the mirror when you're the slower car and you see the faster guys come behind you, and you can just, it's just that 50-50 decision. You're going, oh, please wait to the next corner, and then you see them dive under. And actually, a lot of the times as a lap car, sometimes you just have to accept that you're going to be compromised for the good of both of you, and that's so frustrating as well when you have the faster class come through and can sometimes put you offline a little.
Okay, you definitely do want to be put out line, but now it's just going to be a ding-dong battle between these cars. No lap traffic in front of them. They got one GT3 car, but that is the number 1 of Cameron Martineau, who's going to make life pretty easy for these guys when they catch up to him. But this battle is going to be lighting up just instantly for these two.
Yeah, you just feel this is going to rumble on all the way through. I mean, I tell you what, that Ferrari's got some big legs in a straight line. Corral is not able to reel in Chan whatsoever going down the straights. And but this is where the Porsche comes strong. That manoeuvrable Porsche, just fantastic through the back part of the circuit. Okay, so we're here on lap 50 of the race. 1 hour and 6 minutes of racing complete. Just 9 minutes to go here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Dennis Sabretic leads from Mike Dam by 7.5 seconds, and Cameron Martineau leads in GT3 from William Dillon by a dominant 24 seconds. But this battle for 5th place is not over between Arthur Chan and Justin Corral.
Just off the track goes Justin, pushing it just a little bit too hard, but that's just showing how much he wants that spot.
He certainly is. Yeah, this is just an excellent battle. We've seen Arthur do this all day long, keep a number of high-profile drivers behind them, and I have to give a shout out to Jen McDonald. She qualified so strongly off the back of a podium finish at Laguna Seca last time around. But it's just been one of those days where just incidents have bred incidents. Some have not been her fault, but a little bit frustrating as she's got up to 4th in the championship, but she might be leapfrogged by Orion Collins, who's in 4th right now. But we're only about half distance in the season, so plenty of time to go.
Yeah, halfway through the season right now. Championship's going to start looking in, but very rough day today. Back to this battle for 5th between Chan and Corral. Half a second separates them, and they are fighting incredibly hard as they're catching up to Cameron Martineau, who 23.1 seconds ahead of William Dillon, and some good scouting from Elvis Rankin. He is starting to slow up.
Yeah, it's like we've got a third spotter in the box here. We've got Elvis helping us out on the YouTube channel, the YouTube chat, which is nice to have your company, Elvis. Hope you're enjoying your testing this week in the Lucas Oil car. So past Cameron Martineau, the GT3 leader. Arthur Chan leads down into turn 4 from Orion Collins in this battle for 5th place, and just Arthur just making.
Here it is.
Oh wow, that was a big look
That was a very big look. It was a very wide line by Chan, and you've never seen a guy use that line before, but he's kind of inviting Justin Corral to, hey, I'm leaving these corners way open. Send it inside. This is the reverse psychology of a guy defending, and he's trying to force Justin Corral into a mistake by getting a little bit overconfident, sending up onto the inside, and trying to make him have a mistake. And there it was again. Justin Corral, block up mid-corner through the carousel.
Yep, he's doing Arthur Chan using every play in the book here to try and keep Justin Corral behind, but Justin in the 115 Porsche pushing so hard. You can see they're using all the room on the exit and more as they head up to the keyhole. Tell you what, Arthur Chan, he's really confident there in the keyhole. He actually takes the, he's happy just to leave the door that little bit more open to get that wider entry, and then get on the gas that little bit early onto the back straight, and defend his position with the power of that Ferrari.
Yeah, that Ferrari flies down the straight, and that is his big strength here. And that kind of explains why he's taking these wider lines compared to the Porsche. That Porsche, very good going left and right, switching over that middle point of the car. And these guys have just been locked bumpers for most of this race. But, oh, little bit of an unders here for Justin Corral. Had to correct it. He's dropped down 3/10 through just that one corner.
Yeah, you can tell he's really, really pushing. And of course, the closer you get to the car in front, it kind of cheats the aerodynamics. If you get that dirty air from the car in front, it can make a big, big difference.
Yeah, you're thinking a sports car, it doesn't really have that much front aerodynamics. They do, honestly, it's just very hidden. Those inlets that the car has,
wow.
No! Justin Corral flies way off the track, keeps his foot in the gas, and I'm going to have to stamp the book on that fight, as that pretty much killed it right there. 5 minutes left here in Mid-Ohio for the Ricmotech GT Challenge Series. We look at the battle for 8th in the GT3 class between Kevin Ford and Jeff Jacobs, also known as our race marshal and our race organizer.
Oh, a little bit of inter-team battle here then, although these cars in different liveries, of course, colleagues here in the Ricmotech paddock. And Kevin, whoa, Kevin's getting spicy. Oh, and he's got the run.
Kevin.
And Jeff Jacobs makes a mistake, and
Kevin
gets unsighted by it in the Ferrari. Wow, did well to hang on to that one, Austin.
Absolutely fantastic battle between them. That was an odd dip that Kevin Ford had, but he's right back on Jeff Jacobs.
Yeah, so they go at it again. Jeff Jacobs made a mistake, and then Kevin almost had a mistake in sympathy. Well, Kevin goes in here in the 32 Ferrari. Oh, a little bit late on the brakes again, but he can square the corner back off again and get on the gas, get that Ferrari boogieing down the straight. But the Merc's got, the Mercedes, it's got real legs as well, but Kevin's in the draft. Okay.
The front right of Jeff Jacobs' cars is a bit bent in right there. You can tell by the little small amount of bent fiberglass or hood material on that Mercedes. Just a bit crunched in right there. It's very hard to see.
I would hope it was carbon fiber for the price of it.
I would hope it is too, but you know, some of these guys,
you never know.
But Kevin is very unstable coming out of these corners. He's pushing a lot.
Yeah, he's this is bragging rights in the office, isn't it, between Jeff Jacobs and Kevin Ford? You know, they're going to go hard here. Two very different cars. You know, this is what balance of performance can do. You know, in street form, the Ferrari would absolutely pulverize the Mercedes. And, you know, these cars are very, very different in ethos. You know, the Ferrari is a proper, exotic, mid-engine supercar, whereas the Mercedes is, well, it's a real big front-engine cruiser, really, a very heavy machine in street form. But in racing form, they're evened out so perfectly, but still with their kind of road car DNA. The Ferrari's got the engine in the middle, and the Mercedes has got a big old lump in the front, and it's a heavy engine in that Mercedes at the front, which does change the handling dynamics of that car.
Yeah, the front end of that Mercedes looks brand new, but if you look at the front right, there's just a little bit of a bent hood right there. It's nothing major. But if he's right on board with Jeff Jacobs, you'll be able to see it much better.
Oh yeah, well spotted. And one of the great things about riding on board here, you get a great impression of the noise here as well. On board of this BMW, on board of this Mercedes-AMG machine. Just looking at the time right now, Dennis Reddick. Yep, I think Dennis Reddick will be taking the white flag next time he goes past the flag stand.
Yeah, 1 minute 18 seconds lap time here, and he just came across the start line, but not the finish line yet.
He certainly has, so...
But yeah, white flag definitely will be out this time by, and that's going to be good fighting between Jeff Jacobs and Kevin Ford, but I think something's just happened between them.
That's Travis Schwenke in there as well in the GTE car, so he's spiced them up a little bit, and they're going to go side by side. Kevin's on the grass. No! Oh, that's massive. Oh, Kevin's going to go back to where he came from. It looked like he was going to go back towards turn 1 there.
Oh, he might be getting this might give him a penalty for crossing across the track. Mid-Ohio, there's no barrier right there. He went on to the middle of the oval, which this track does have an oval configuration. One of the only right-turning ovals in America.
Now there is a fun fact. I'm going to have to put that in my notes because that is a good one, Austin. Well, that was Kevin. He was pushing hard there. He wanted to get along side by side there with Jeff Jacobs, but Jeff just barged him out there, and Kevin onto the grass and spun around. So Dennis Reddick, he's going to be your winner in GTE, as we see Justin Corral and Arthur Chan. They're still going at it, still battling hard here for this 5th place spot. You can see all of the road grime on the front of these cars after 75 minutes of racing. And Dennis Reddick will have taken the white flag right now. Where is he? He's just at the back of the circuit.
Oh, he's about to finish.
Checkered flag is out. Here he comes then. Dennis Reddick for Band of Others Racing wins here at Mid-Ohio for the championship leader. It's another win. Dennis Reddick, here he goes, and takes the win. And there goes Cameron Martineau as well, also takes the checkered flag. Mike Dam finishes in 2nd despite that little incident with the back marker. Gets there in 2nd, but who is going to take this 5th place battle, Austin?
Arthur Chan is quaking in his boots right now because after that little bit of an off track by Justin Corral, he's right back, and he's pushed hard these last 2 laps after I said that this battle was done. I'm going to have to go back to those books, just completely white out what I wrote earlier because this fight is about to get nasty with just a few corners to go. Chan, Corral, battle for 5th, coming up to the carousel. We're about to see something wild from Justin Corral right now. Both are defending onto the inside. Here comes Corral. He's going to say, you can have your inside. I'm going to look on the outside now. Watch for the exit. It might become a drag race.
Oh, this looks like Arthur Chan's going to take it. He does. What a drive from Arthur Chan to keep that 5th place. He had so much pressure there from Justin Corral, and you got to give big props to Justin as well. He did everything he could, but didn't resort to any dirty moves. That was some great clean racing to watch.
Amazing clean racing by everybody here today. As our race marshal gives us our winners, Dennis Savertech and Cameron Martineau, up for our, I would say, traditional photo shoot of our race winners. They park up underneath the Honda start finish line, and Cameron just disappears from view. But what a race we saw here at Mid-Ohio. Not much of a massive fight for most of it, but it was a amazing race of patience.
It was, and Dennis Reddick was the master in this race. He really did deserve that one. But Mike Dam, he was ever so close. But as you know, Mike Dam doing what Mike Dam does, when he couldn't win, he just picks up those points for 2nd place, and only 9.8 seconds behind. A brilliant run from the Canadian in the 93 Porsche. Travis Schwenke, well, he makes that early pit stop strategy work once more and gets the 3rd spot and gets on the podium once again in his BMW. Ryan Collins finished in 4th place. Arthur Chan, a brilliant drive from the Canadian in the Ferrari, keeping Justin Corral behind him after so many laps. Jen McDonald, not the day she wanted after a great qualifying, finishing in 7th, and George Fike in the Ford was 8th. Cameron Martineau, he was your winner in GT3 with William Dillon and Chris Thorman rounding out the class podium there. Bobby Childs just missed out on the class podium in 12th, followed by Tyler Guillemette, Kevin Hawkinson, Tony Kernan, Jeff Jacobs, Steve Daniel, and finally Kevin Ford in 18th. And then the final runners, Luis Guidolio, Ross Ruddock, Derek Holland, Scott Brooks, David Payton, Daniel Munoz, rounding out your 24 runners here at Mid-Ohio for the Ricmotech GT Challenge. So, let's see if we do. We have our GT3 winner, Cameron Martineau, coming to join us in the commentary box right now. Cameron, this is getting a bit of a habit. You in the winner's circle. Tell us about your win today at Mid-Ohio.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, it's this was a good one. Been practicing all week. Showed good pace, and from the start it was just basically build up enough of a lead and then just drive cleanly. Don't take any unnecessary chances and just bring it home. So that's basically all that I tried to do today, and I executed pretty well. So good one.
As easy as that. You make it sound so simple, Cameron. You need to give me some lessons. Now it's of course that you got two classic multi-class sports car racing here at Mid-Ohio today, with the GT3 and the GTE machines there. And although they're a few seconds apart on lap time, they make them in different ways. How did you find it as the leading GT3 runners with these fierce GTE cars coming through the pack?
It was pretty tough because they've got a lot more downforce. So they were definitely catching us in the high speed corners, but we've got a lot more mechanical grip and make up a lot more of our time in the braking. So and our straight line speed isn't terribly different. So just being careful when they do get by us. Not trying to outbrake them into some of the slower speed sections. So and just giving a nice little lift there, especially down the straightaways, since our paces weren't too far off, and not really worth it to race them into the corners.
Oh, absolutely. Now I notice you run the number 31, which is a very successful number in the IMSA Championship. Of course, Action Express and Whalen Engineering run the 31 with much success. Tell us the story of why you choose the 31 for your car.
Yeah, so I've got the 31 on most of my vehicles. Not only here in iRacing, but in real life as well. The 31 just comes from my childhood address. That was the house number that I grew up in, so that's where the 31 comes from.
Aha, I see. Oh, what a cool story. Now, as our GT3 winner here in the Ricmotech GT Challenge here at Mid-Ohio, Cameron, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to give a big shout out to my team and teammates, the Aquila and Orion race team. Big shout out to the league admins, Kevin, Jeff, Bobby, and Russ. They do a great job. Big shout out to you guys in the commentary booth, putting on a great show for the viewers every single week. And just a shout out to my friends and family, my dad, my grandparents who are watching the broadcast at home.
Oh, well, a big shout out to them. A big hello from us in the commentary books. A big hello from Austin in Texas and me here in Scotland. Go and enjoy the win, Cameron, and I feel we're making a habit of this. Hopefully, see you again next week.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So that was our GT3 winner, Cameron Martineau, and I believe we have William Dillon to come in and have a chat with him, who finished second in GT3. William, welcome to the Apex Racing TV commentary box. How did you find that out there today at Mid-Ohio?
Oh, well, it's like a mini endurance race, really, I think. Me and Cameron had a plan, Aquila team going in, and I guess you got to love it when the plan works out.
It certainly did. People think, 75 minutes, that's not long at all. But around a course like Mid-Ohio, where there's no rest at all, it's pretty busy out there, isn't it?
It sure is, especially with the mixed class and stuff. You know, you're getting lapped by the GTEs quite frequently.
And of course, you're at the wheel of the Ferrari GT3, as most of the leaders in this class are. For me, it feels like a very stable car to drive. How do you find it, and how did you come to the choice of it over the other options in the GT3 class?
I feel like the Ferrari's more like best an all-round car per several tracks throughout the series. There's several I would prefer the Audi over the Ferrari, but Ferrari being all-round, I can always seem to get a decent finish without each race, some top, some mid.
And it's certainly the most glamorous car, that's for sure. The Ferrari's always got the glamour points. Now, William, as one of our podium finishers here in the Ricmotech GT Challenge today at Mid-Ohio, who would you like to give a shout out to on the live broadcast?
Just all the guys at the Aquila race team. You know, we all have fun working together, setting these cars up for these races and bigger endurance races as well. Frosty St. Clair manages both the Orion and the Aquila teams. He does a great job. I don't think his name gets put out enough. And I guess just looking forward to Petite now.
Yes. Are you running at Road Atlanta next weekend?
Yeah, there's going to be several of us from the Aquila and Ride teams running.
Oh, well, we'll be pulling for you. All the best of luck at Road Atlanta for Petite, and looking forward to speaking to you again here in the Apex Racing TV commentary box. Thanks, William.
Thank you.
So that was William Dillon, our second place finisher in GT3 today. That is about all we have time for you here today in the Ricmotech GT Challenge. But let's have a look about what you can expect over the next few Monday nights here in the Ricmotech paddock. Monday night is Ricmotech night, and on the 5th of October, it's the Classic Sprint Series, which is next up, which is our big Ford Mustangs and the little Mazda MX-5 Miatas, which always provide great racing, and that is at one of my favourite circuits in North America, Lime Rock Park. 1 week later, on the 12th of October, our sports car series, the GT4 machines and TCR touring cars, they also go to Lime Rock Park for their next round of the season. And the next round for our GT Challenge is on October 19th at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So lots of action coming up over the next 3 Mondays, with all the action live here on Apex Racing TV with myself and my esteemed colleague, Austin Knight. That's all we've got time for tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in to this broadcast. Thanks so much to our sponsors, Ricmotech, for all that they do for this series. And we will see you next week at Lime Rock Park.